As days passed, Devaki gave birth to son after son, her heart heavy with the knowledge of the doom that awaited them. Kamsa, though consumed by the prophecy of his death, knew that to eliminate Vasudeva's children, he first needed to seize absolute control over the kingdom. Despite his influence over the military commanders and ministers, Ugrasena, his father, still wielded the authority of the throne, and as long as loyal ministers obeyed the king, Kamsa's desires would remain stifled. He understood that manipulating these ministers to follow his will would require cunning, and they would need to be swayed against their king. While Kamsa brooded over his next move, a celestial visitor arrived. Narada, the divine sage, son of the creator god, Brahma, and the wise messenger of the gods, descended from higher realms to meet Kamsa. Welcoming the revered sage, Kamsa laid bare his plight, expressing the intense mental turmoil he was undergoing. Narada, with a knowing smile, said that he had come not by chance but with a purpose. With a cryptic air, he began to reveal long-buried truths from Kamsa's past life. Narada informed Kamsa that in his previous incarnation, he was Kala Nemi, a feared and powerful asura. Kala Nemi had been renowned across realms for his might in physical combat and his mastery over the dark forces. As the chief commander of demonic armies, he had spread terror across various celestial worlds. Leading vast legions of Rakshasas, Kala Nemi had been a dominant force, combining brute strength with mystical powers capable of challenging the gods themselves. But his reign of terror had come to an end at the hands of Vishnu, the supreme god of the universe. As Narada recounted these tales, Kamsa's mind reeled. The revelation of his demonic past filled him with both awe and arrogance. Narada further explained that after Kala Nemi's death, the loyal Rakshasas' armies fled in fear of Vishnu's wrath, hiding in the remote caves of the Himalayas, waiting for centuries for the return of their leader. Kala Nemi, reborn as Kamsa, was the fulfillment of that hope. Narada then revealed an even darker secret. Kamsa, in this life, had been born not of Ugrasena, but due to the treacherous actions of an asura named Drumila, who had taken Ugrasena's form and deceived Padmavati, Kamsa's mother. This revelation emboldened Kamsa further, as he realized he was bound by blood to the ancient demonic forces, destined for power and greatness beyond what he had ever imagined. Kamsa, his confidence bolstered by this newfound knowledge, thanked Narada for revealing his true identity at such a crucial moment. He felt invincible, emboldened by the might of his past life, and ready to embrace his destiny as the leader of the Rakshasas. Narada, with a knowing glance, first inquired why Kamsa had spared the lives of Vasudeva's sons up until now. Kamsa, still confident, replied that the prophecy only spoke of the danger from the eighth child, so there was no need to kill the earlier ones. At this, Narada, with a sly smile, called Kamsa an innocent soul. Perplexed by this remark, Kamsa demanded to know what Narada meant. With deliberate calmness, Narada revealed the hidden truth, that it was the eighth son who would kill Kamsa, but only with the help of one of his brothers. The threat, Narada explained, was not limited to the eighth child, but any one of Vasudeva's sons along with the eighth son might play a part in Kamsa's destruction. Kamsa, alarmed by this revelation, prepared to kill the children immediately. But Narada cautioned him, advising that before he acted, Kamsa should first gain absolute control of the kingdom. To achieve this, Narada directed Kamsa to the Himalayas, where the Rakshasas, waiting for centuries, would be his loyal army. Their reunion would ensure Kamsa's dominance and secure his path to power. Taking Narada's advice to heart, Kamsa gathered the necessary details and without hesitation, set off on his journey to the formidable Himalayas, determined to meet his Rakshasa army and take his place as their long-awaited leader. There exist remote regions within the Himalayas, where the harsh and unforgiving climatic conditions make it nearly impossible for ordinary humans to tread. These treacherous terrains, rumored to be the earthly nexus for otherworldly beings such as Kimpurushas, Yakshas, and even Asuras, beings who are said to have departed from Earth millennia ago, are believed to serve as their hidden sanctuaries. It was toward these fabled, elusive realms that Kamsa now embarked on a perilous journey. As Kamsa ventured deeper into the treacherous terrain, the path grew increasingly formidable. First, the chariot and horses faltered, unable to withstand the rugged and unforgiving landscape. Then, even his loyal soldiers, worn down by the unyielding ascent and harsh elements, found themselves unable to proceed. Yet Kamsa, driven by an unwavering ambition to ascend as a dominant force, pressed on alone, undeterred by the escalating obstacles, his resolve hardening with every step. Seeking an audience with the Rakshasas who had awaited his return for centuries. Kamsa, guided by Narada's words and filled with a newfound sense of invincibility, ventured deep into the caves that the sage had described. The journey was arduous, with the treacherous path testing even his endurance. Yet Kamsa, driven by the promise of power, pressed on. Within the hidden depths of the caves, he encountered the infamous Rakshasas, Puthana, Trinovartha, and Ugrasena. These malevolent beings had concealed themselves in the dark recesses of the earth, living in fear of Vishnu's wrath. For centuries they hid in fear, dreading that if they came out of hiding, the supreme god would destroy them. Upon seeing Kamsa, their terror transformed into hope. They recognized in him the reborn form of Kalanemi, their once great leader, reborn to save them from Vishnu's vengeance and restore the dominance of the Asuras on earth and other worlds. With their guidance, Kamsa performed a dark and ancient ritual, invoking the power of evil forces that existed beyond the known realms. The ritual restored to him the instincts and strength of Kalanemi, transforming him from a mere human into a formidable Rakshasa. The man who entered the cave as a prince of flesh and blood emerged as a being filled with demonic power, his cruelty magnified and his ambition sharpened. Upon his return to Mathura, Kamsa wasted no time in asserting his newfound authority. He sent word to Vasudeva, demanding the presence of all 6 of his sons. Vasudeva, along with his wife Devaki, trembled with fear as they approached Kamsa, clutching their children. Although they held a flicker of hope that Kamsa would honor his father Ugrasena's command and spare their sons, dread weighed heavily on their hearts. Once the doors of the chamber were shut, Kamsa's cruelty knew no bounds. He took the youngest child into his arms and without hesitation seized the infant by the leg and smashed him against the ground. The sickening sound of the baby's skull shattering echoed through the chamber as blood splattered onto Devaki's face. Paralyzed by the horror of what had just occurred, she barely registered what had happened until the gruesome reality set in. Her scream of despair pierced the air. Kamsa's murderous spree did not stop with the first child. One by one, he hunted down the elder children as they attempted to flee. With every capture, he mercilessly smashed their heads against the walls, laughing maniacally as their lifeless bodies fell to the floor. Vasudeva, desperate to stop the carnage, was thrown aside by Kamsa's men and restrained, helplessly watching the slaughter unfold. The sounds of his children's skulls cracking reverberated in Devaki's ears until she collapsed in grief, unable to bear the pain. Kamsa, consumed by his own arrogance, declared that no power in the universe could stop him. His laughter echoed through the palace halls, filling the air with terror. The news of the horrific massacre spread quickly. Padmavati, Kamsa's mother, fainted upon hearing what her son had done. Meanwhile, Ugrasena, the king, rushed to confront his son, flanked by his commander Ganavratha and a group of soldiers. Storming into the chamber, Ugrasena was met with the chilling sight of his son, still basking in his monstrous act. Furious, he berated Kamsa, condemning him for becoming a murderer of infants and the lowest of rulers. Kamsa, however, remained defiant, dismissing his father's words with arrogance, proclaiming that he was now beyond anyone's control. Ugrasena, outraged by his son's insolence, ordered Ganavratha to seize Kamsa and imprison him immediately. But to Ugrasena's horror, Ganavratha remained still. Kamsa, with a sinister smile, declared that loyalty followed strength, not lineage. It became clear to Ugrasena that the palace guards and commanders had already pledged their allegiance to Kamsa. Desperate, the king commanded his minister, Sutravega, to arrest both Kamsa and Ganavratha. But Sutravega too refused to act, leaving Ugrasena stunned and helpless. With a smirk, Kamsa ordered Ganavratha to arrest the king himself. Ugrasena, filled with a profound sense of betrayal, gazed into his son's eyes and warned him that history would remember him as the worst of rulers, man who had committed the ultimate atrocities. Unfazed, Kamsa ordered his soldiers to drag Ugrasena to the dungeon. As the fallen king was taken away, Kamsa claimed the throne, and Grand Minister Sutravega publicly announced Kamsa as the new king of Mathura. Padmavati, devastated by her son's actions, approached him, pleading for him to come to his senses and release Ugrasena, urging him to seek his father's forgiveness. But Kamsa, his heart hardened by his newfound power, ordered that even his mother be imprisoned for speaking against him. In a final act of cruelty, he commanded that Vasudeva, Devaki, and all of Vasudeva's wives, Brikodevi, Madira, Bhadra, and Povravi, be thrown into the dungeons. The palace was gripped with terror. Vasudeva's wives, unaware of the horrors that had unfolded, were forcefully dragged from their chambers, their dignity stripped away as they were humiliated in front of the soldiers and handmaidens. Clad in torn garments, they were thrown into the dark, cold cells of the dungeon. Kamsa's descent into cruelty and madness was complete. It was as though some dark, otherworldly force had taken control of him, warping his mind and amplifying his innate cruelty. Most of the ministers had been swayed by Sutravega, while the few who remained loyal to Ugrasena were too fearful for their lives to speak up, knowing they were vastly outnumbered. Mathura, once a prosperous kingdom, was now ruled by a tyrant, whose actions would echo through history as some of the darkest ever known.